All right, our Chapter 7 review. Number 54. Solving each equation. The cube root of 3x plus 1 equals negative 5. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to cube each side. Okay. So we're going to get 3x plus 1 equals negative 5 cubed is negative 125. We're going to subtract 1 to each side. So 3x equals negative 126. Divide everything by 3. So we're going to get x equals negative 42. And we're going to plug it back in, and we're going to find out it's going to work out just fine. So the answer is C. 55. The square root of x plus 7 times x plus 1. So we're going to square each side. So the left side is going to become x plus 7. The right side is going to be x plus 1 squared, which is x squared plus 2x plus 1. Now, since we have a quadratic going on here, we're going to go ahead and subtract x to each side and subtract 7. So I get 0 equals x squared plus x minus 6. So I can x factor this. A times c is negative 6. And my b value is 1. So two numbers that give me a product of negative 6 and a sum of 1. So that'd be 3 and negative 2. So that'd be x plus 3 times x minus 2. So the roots, if you remember, would be x equals negative 3 and x would equal 2. Well, when we plug it in to check for extraneous solutions, we get the square root of x plus 7 equals x plus 1. So when x equals negative 3, negative is the big one we got to check. So it's going to be the square root of negative 3 plus 7 equals negative 3 plus 1. So it's going to be square root of 4 equals negative 2. Well, that can never ever happen when we use that negative 3. So x cannot be negative 3. 2, on the other hand, works just fine. So the answer is just A, 2. Going on to 56. X to the 1/2 power minus 3 equals 8. So step 1, add 3 to each side. So we got x to the 1/2 equals 11. We got to square each side. So x equals 121. '58. So I have the two functions given. Let the f of x equal 2x plus 5 and the g of x equal x squared minus 3 plus 2. So step 1, we're going to add them together. So 2x plus 5, that's the f of x, plus x squared minus 3x plus 2. So we just got to sum like terms, not too hard. So this is going to be x squared, 2x and negative 3x minus x plus 7. Answer is B. Now f of x minus g of x. So their f of x is 2x plus 5. Go ahead and put groupings. We really don't need them there. Minus, but we need to minus the grouping of x squared minus 3x plus 2. Okay, so let's distribute the negative sign. So it's going to be 2x plus 5 minus x squared plus 3x minus 2. So it's going to be negative x squared plus 5x. You see the groupings. And then 5 minus 2 is 3. So it's negative x squared plus 5x minus 3. Sorry, plus 3. So the answer would be D. Okay, now the g of x times the f of x. So I have 2x plus 5 times x squared minus 3x plus 2. So we got to do a little bit of distribution, no big deal. 2x times x squared is 2x cubed. 2x times negative 3x would be negative 6x squared. 2x times 2 would be plus 4x. Okay, 5 times x squared would be positive 5x squared. 5 times negative 3x would be negative 15x. 5 times 2 would be 10. Sum them up together. 2x cubed minus x squared minus 11x plus 10. So it looks like the answer would be C. Okay, moving on. 60. The g of x minus the f of x. So that's going to be x squared minus 3x plus 2. That's my g of x. Minus 2x plus 5. Rewrite it and distribute the negative sign. So it's x squared minus 3x plus 2 minus 2x minus 5. Sum like terms. So I get x squared minus 5x minus 3. Answer C. Plugging along pretty easily right now, aren't we? Good deal. All right. 61. G of x over the f of x. Well, g of x is x squared minus 3x plus 2. My f of x is 2x plus 5. So we're good with that. But a little red flag should go off because I have a variable in the denominator. So 2x plus 5 cannot equal 0. So 2x cannot equal negative 5. So x cannot equal negative 5 halves. So I need my restriction and that. So it looks like my answer is B. 62. Okay, we got new functions now. So let f of x equal x squared and the g of x equal x minus 3. So it wants to know the g of the f of negative 2. Okay, you see how I drew that. So work inside out. So first thing we want to worry about is the function of negative 2. So the f of negative 2 is going to be x squared. So the f of x, I'm going to write that over here, is x squared. So the f of negative 2 would be negative 2 squared. So the f of negative 2 would be 4. Since f of negative 2 is 4, I can replace it and rewrite it like this. So I need to find the function of g of 4. Well, the g of x is x minus 3. So the g of 4, we're just going to replace that with the x, would be 4 minus 3, which would be 1. All right, let's do the f of g of negative 2. The f of g of negative 2. Okay, so let's look at it. So the g of x was x minus 3. So the g of negative 2 would be negative 2 minus 3, which would be negative 5. Just like we did before. So the g of negative 2 is negative 5, so now we can replace that. So now we can say we're finding the f of negative 5. Well, the f of x was x squared, so the f of negative 5 would be negative 5 squared, so that would be 25. Our answer is B. '64. The f of g of negative 2. So the f of g, of 0, So the g of x is x minus 3. So the g of 0 would be 0 minus 3, which would be negative 3. So now we're going to do the f of negative 3. Well, the f of x was x squared. So the f of negative 3 would be negative 3 squared, which would be 9. Okay, 65. The g of the g of 7. Interesting. So the g of x is x minus 3. I'm going to change my pen colors. So the g of 7 would be 7 minus 3, which would be 4. So again, we can replace that with that. So now I can write the g of 4. Well, the g of x was x minus 3, so the g of 4 would be 4 minus 3. So the answer would be 1. All right. The f g of c. So the function of g of c. No big deal. The g of x was x minus 3. So the g of c would be c minus 3. We'll replace that with that. So now we're going to find the function of c minus 3. Well, the function of x was x squared. So the function of c minus 3 would be c minus 3 squared. Well, that's a perfect square trinomial, so it's going to be c squared minus 6c plus 9. You can FOIL it out if you don't see that. So c squared minus 6c plus 9. Answer is B. So now find the inverse of each function, and is the inverse a function? So I have y equals x plus 2. Step 1, flip the x and y. X equals 6y plus 2. Solve for the new y. Subtract 2 to each side. So I get x minus 2 equals 6y. So I get x minus 2 over 6 equals y. Now it looks like they have it broken down, so we'll do the same. So it's 1 over 6x minus 2 over 6, which reduces to 1 over 3, equals y. All right, is that a function? Well, it's linear, so by definition it is. Yes, it's a function. So do I have 1/6x minus 1/3 in it? Yes, I do. There we go. Easy enough. Y equals 2x cubed plus 1. Step 1, flip the x and y. So x equals 2y cubed plus 1. Solve for the new y, so subtract 1 to each side. X minus 1 equals 2y cubed. Divide everything by 2. So x minus 1 over 2 equals y cubed. So we're going to cube root it, but looking at the answers, they don't really have it that way. So we're going to take everything to the 1/3 power. So I get y equals x minus 1 over 2 to the 1/3 power. Since I have an odd index, yes, it is a function. So the answer is C. All right, 69. Y equals x minus 2 to the 4th power. Step 1, flip the sign. So x equals y minus 2 to the 4th power. So take everything to the 1/4. All right, and if you guys remember the rule, when you raise an exponent to an even index, you have to add plus or minus. So I'm going to have plus or minus x to the 1/4 equals y minus 2. So I'm going to have plus or minus x to the 1/4 plus 2 equals y. So they wrote it differently. They wrote plus or minus the 4th root of x plus 2 equals y. Well, since I have plus or minus, it is a no on the function. So the answer, my friends, looks like D. Last one on this section anyway. Y equals the square root of x plus 2. So step 1, flip the x and y. So x equals the square root of y plus 2. Square each side. So x squared equals y plus 2. Subtract 2. So x squared minus 2 equals y. And yes, it is a function. So the answer would be A. Okay, we'll stop there on the first set of notes, and we will continue in just a second.